Welcome to Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup. I'm your host, Jason Bland, and tonight we have Mike Ricksecker, and I probably butchered his name because we were just getting him on. I didn't get to do my, how do I say your name part, because everybody knows I butcher names, so we'll find out and make sure how bad I butcher it here in a minute. Mike is a best-selling author, Ghostorian, paranormal investigator. He's the author of Deadly Airs, System of the Dead, Ghost of Maryland, Ghosts and Legends of Oklahoma. Oh, I messed that up. He's published a lot of books, traveled all over the country. We're going to hear his stories of some of the most haunted locations he's been to and his experiences. Be with you guys in just 1 second. And of course, maybe we'll have Skype call-in lines later in the show. You can ask your questions. That Skype ID is OOJBLAND. Just wait for me to call on you and let you know that we're going to have the Skype line open, and then you can call on in and ask your questions. All right, be with you guys in just 1 second. All right, welcome to another night of Paranormal Soup. How you doing? Are you there with us still, Mike, hopefully?
Yeah, I hope so. Can you hear me now?
I hear you now. Right. We had a fight to get him on here. Hangouts was not liking his computer.
No, not at all.
It doesn't like a lot of computers. It's a stubborn beast. Okay, well, I was telling you, we got like 1 minute for me to tell you how the show works. Tonight, of course, we do every Sunday night, the World Wide Web of Weird. And Jeff is running the video for this again, so I got to make sure I lock it on Jeff's screen here in just a second. But we got a number of articles. Mike, feel free to join in if you have any comments on this. It's a bit fun, and it's serious, and it's jackassery. It's at its finest. It's the World Wide Web of Weird. Let's get it rolling. It's another night of the World Wide Web of Weird. The first thing I got to show on the World Wide Web of Weird, you'll see it coming up here. This is what Todd wanted to talk about last week and we didn't get to. I tried everywhere to find an article on this. It's all I know about it. It's from Hungary. I didn't find an article. If somebody finds an article on it, please send it to me, because this is some weird footage of supposedly a meteor doing a 180 turn. I have it looped here a couple times to watch and some zoom-in footage of it, but it's really weird. Now, could it be a drone on fire? A drone accident gone way too far? It's going
well, there's
down.
some sort of an explosion that happens right when it comes on screen.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if somebody stuck some dynamite to a drone and decided, let's just blow this baby up. I don't know, because it does a 180 turn. That, to me, the meteor isn't going to do that. So I'm waiting to hear more on what that could be. Like I said, if I get an article, I'll come back to it. Maybe we'll read and find out a little more. Maybe it's already been debunked and I haven't even found the articles. Nobody cares. But again, the UFO possibility always goes back lately to, is it a drone? And that's what we're going to get. It used to be swamp gas and stuff like that. Now we're just going to go, is it a drone? And when it's on fire and doing a 180-degree turn, it looks spectacular. Is it a drone? All right, next up on the World Wide Web of Weird, somebody's missing a heart. I can think of a few people, but no. Ohio police baffled by mystery heart. Police in Ohio city of Norwalk are trying to solve a bizarre mystery following the discovery of a heart found inside a Ziploc bag. The odd organ was spotted sitting in a field by paramedics in late August and has since become the subject of investigation to determine its nature and origins. Strangely enough, one of the EMTs who initially discovered the heart simply disposed of it in a nearby dumpster, apparently thinking that a random bag organ found lying in the grass was no big deal. By the way, this is from Coast to Coast AM. This is an article. I had to read it. It's real funny. Fortunately, more inquisitive authorities managed to recover the now twice abandoned organ and have handed it off to experts in hopes of learning more details about this mysterious heart. Officials concede that they currently have no idea if the heart was from a human or an animal. Although they believe it was fresh when it was found back in August, it may have been frozen prior to that. So it's got to be pretty bad condition. I think Most medical people are like, oh yeah, that's a human heart. Additionally, they admit that until they know more about the heart, it's impossible to say if it was attached to a crime of some kind, since police have not received any report of a missing heart. Authorities are currently having the heart tested for preservatives, suggesting that it could have been somehow pilfered from the place that housed organs for future transplants. But that's just one possible source for the heart. Sergeant Jim Fulton of the Norwalk Police Department told reporters at Cleveland TV station WO10, or IO, messed that up, noting that it could have come from a funeral home, an autopsy. There's endless possibilities. There's a hope that the media's attention about the case will provide authorities with new clues about the unexplained organ, but they may be trying to get blood from a stone, as the original owner of the heart clearly stopped talking a while ago. And yeah, I'm going to bet they'll find out it's not even a human heart. I mean, I don't know. In a Ziploc baggie? I don't know. Hearts are worth money. I don't know. I don't know if that would be possible. All right. Next up, this is another one I got off the Coast to Coast AM site. I like their articles. They're short. That's why I end up picking them most of the time. Eerie anomaly photographed at Witch Temple. Should be the next video coming up here in a second. And I can't wait to hear our resident jackass. You'll see that on his his lower third, Todd Reinhardt here, to talk about this. A member of a ghost hunting tour at a series of subterranean chambers in Scotland photographed an unsettling anomaly in an area of the site supposedly used as a witch temple. The intriguing image was captured during an investigation by organization Reality Haunted UK at Edinburgh's notorious Niddry Street vaults over the weekend. During the visit to the location, a member of the organization claims a number of strange events took place, such as furniture moving on its own and something throwing rocks at the group. In the midst of this frenzy of a potential paranormal activity, one of the tourists in the party took this puzzling photo of the witch temple. In the image of the ceremonial site, allegedly still used by witches performing rituals to this day, an eerie and amorphous glow can be seen sitting in a chair on the far right of the circle of seats. According to one of the leaders of the tour, the person who captured the image immediately showed it to others in the group in order to quell any future suspicions that the photo was doctored. Of course, skeptics will likely dismiss this image as merely a photographic anomaly, which is made to appear creepy due to the setting and preconceived notions of the ghosts that lurk at the location. And cue Todd on that picture. What's your thoughts, Todd? I have to hear it. You there, Todd?
You got me as I walked out to get a glass of water.
Oh, of course. Of course. I should have pre-warned you.
Oh, okay, what do we got here?
All right.
Digicabra again?
Digicabra, yeah, no. This would be a Digi-witch of some kind. This is taking in a subterranean witch temple in, where was that? I totally forgot what I just read. What town was that in? Let's see. Scotland. There you go. Good old Scotland for witches.
I don't believe it. There's no sheep.
So my thoughts in it is just some kind of refraction of light just in the camera lens. They're trying to say it's this figure here to the right, that it's like but you can see the whole like purple like haze kind of go around. If I had right to purple haze right now, I'd be playing it.
You can track it. Look where the flash goes off. You see the bright reflection on the mirror on the back wall, and it's reflecting to right side of the frame.
Exactly. So I love having you on, Todd. All right.
It's what I do.
It's what you do. It's what you do. All right. Next up is, now Todd sent me right before the show really great footage of Loch Ness. Like some really, it's totally going viral right now, and I don't have it. I have like the B side of the Loch Ness sighting for the night's World Wide Web of Weird. I didn't get time. We'll definitely have it in the next World Wide Web of Weird. But here it is. Guy takes a picture here. Two creatures photographed at Loch Ness. Although the legendary Nessie has allegedly been photographed many times in the past, a remarkable new image may actually capture two creatures swimming in Loch Ness. Witness Ian Campbell says that he spotted the purported pair of Nessies when he stopped for a break while on a bike ride with his son. They could not believe their eyes when they noticed two distinct anomalies suddenly appear on the water about 1,300 feet away. In light of their location, the father and son speculated they could be watching not only Nessie, but two of them. Fortunately, Campbell was quick-witted enough to snap a picture of the potential creatures before they submerged again. Despite only lasting a mere 30 seconds, the sighting left an indelible mark on Campbell, who is convinced that he saw two creatures in Loch Ness. It goes without saying the skeptics will see merely a wave, a log, or some other prosaic explanation for Campbell's photograph. And while they very well may be correct, Nessie fans see the image as a potential solution of sorts to a long-standing conundrum surrounding the creature. One of the most difficult challenges facing reality and Nessie is the question of how a breeding population of giant creatures could exist with Loch Ness. However, Campbell's photo may indicate there are indeed multiple mystery animals at the legendary site, and they can either reproduce or maneuver in and out of Loch Ness at will. I say tree log. because I've seen a lot of that. Now, I wish I had it. This footage now of Loch Ness, probably by the time I get the World Wide Web of Weird, it'll be debunked. We'll see. I wish I would have had it tonight.
Clone stamp.
Oh, what do you say? This one?
Look at them. They're identical. I mean, absolutely identical, including the wakes around them.
Yeah. So it's like a cloned image. Yeah. Like I said, this was like the side B of Loch Ness sightings tonight. I'm like, dang it. Wish I would have waited and got the other one on here. All right. Let's move on. This next one here, Jeff will pull it up in a second, is, we talked to one of the recent episodes we had is, our Doomsday episode and End of the World. Well, the rivers are turning blood red here in Russia, more likely pollution. A Russian city with the dubious honor of being one of the most polluted areas of the world strengthens its grip on that title after a local river turned blood red. The Dalkian, I totally butchered that, river suddenly acquired the unsettling hue over the last few days, much to the astonishment and concern of residents in the nearby city Norslik. Maybe. What may be more worrisome that the apoplectic discoloring of the water is a suggested source of the change. Locals believe that the river became red due to some kind of mishap at the metals factory that sits along the water, although owners of the plant denied any responsibility. However, evidence seems to suggest that the factory may indeed be to blame, as initial investigation by Russian environmental officials suggested a leaky pipe at the plant could be behind the incident. Additional local residents contend that similar events have happened in the past, and in the winter even the snow has been known to turn red. Probably the most likely is pollution is merely a proverbial drop in the bucket for the region, which has been suffering from its proximity to a myriad of metal factories in the area. One particular activist is so fed up with the situation that he's proposed a dire challenge to get the industry to take notice. Gregor Dukarev told ABC News that he intends to ask the owners of the metal factories to drink the red water in order to prove that it's safe. Yeah, they should. If they think it's no problem, they'll just take a good sip of that.
I believe that they finally came clean on it.
I would think so.
Now facing some massive fines.
Oh yeah. Oh, we have nothing to do with it. Not at all. No. Yeah. No. A couple chemical tests probably proved them wrong right away. All right. This next one is some shenanigans. He's got more of the pictures up there of the Blood Red River. We're gonna move on, Jeff. We're moving on to somebody I idolized when I was a kid. And I was really affected when he killed himself, was Kurt Cobain. I was totally into Nirvana, loved the music. I was in a grunge band, I was totally into the Kurt Cobain. He killed himself. You can ask my mom. I was like totally devastated. Teenage angst, the whole deal.
I think Jeff had a stroke. Jamie, throw something at him.
He's got it stuck on the Red River here. Here we go. All right. He might get the audio for this.
It's I want you to be every trail, every.
He's nailed the voice. But there's one problem with this Kurt Cobain, and I'm going to leave it to the end. And any of you Kurt Cobain fans out there would spot it right away because I did. I said,
clean?
No, don't give it away yet. So, is Kurt Cobain alive? Conspiracy theorists claim video shows Nirvana singer performing. Legendary rock musician Kurt Cobain faked his death and is living in South America. Conspiracy theorists have sensationally claimed. This is like our Elvis, man, really. They believe the Nirvana frontman, who was found dead at his home in 1994, age 27, is performing under a fake name in Peru. Now it's Peru. Footage of the singer called Romario Saavedra, I definitely butchered that, performs in the band's hit Come As You Are on a Peruvian TV show, has gone viral this week. Saavedra bears an uncanny resemblance to the late rocker, sparking speculation Cobain is making a living as impersonating himself. Trust me, if you read I think, what is it, Come As You Are, is the autobiography or whatever of Kurt Cobain, all that, he would not imitate himself. The last person he wanted to be was himself, I think. So that was my big issue with that one. One Sten fan wrote, "Oh my OMG, Kurt Cobain from Nirvana is alive," while another simply said, "He's alive." Cobain's body was discovered in his U.S. home, of course, in April 1994, with a coroner ruling he died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. But a flurry of conspiracy theories have emerged in this year since. Fans of the Tupac Shakur sparked a similar furore last month after claiming the rapper faked his death 20 years ago and is living in Cuba. They shared a selfie apparently showing the star, best known for his hit California Love, live well on the Caribbean island. That one I might believe. They also claim he is rapping under the name Casanova the Don. A representative of Nirvana last night Humanoid denied the claims about Cobain. He pointed to the fact, here you go, this is what I noticed right away. Sabadell plays the guitar with his right hand in the footage while Cobain was left-handed. He joked, if it's true, Kurt is alive. He needs time to learn to play the guitar with his right hand. Finding a left-handed guitarist isn't easy. Yeah, that was the problem. Like, you kid, the guy nails the voice, like, perfectly. I mean, he nails it. Like, yeah.
Yeah, but so does the new lead singer from for Journey, and the guy is Filipino. So
yeah, true. I didn't think about that. They really, man, they can really like mock, imitate the voices or something. I don't know. I mean, he really sounds like it. Yeah. Now, imitating the singer from Journey, that's a whole other feat. All right, one more. I know Jeff's going to pull up a picture of the article. We don't have any video for this, but I played this video last week. This is the last article. A few weeks ago, or more than a month ago, I had Connie Willis on for the World Wide Web of Weird, and she talked a little bit about this one. Is wing humanoid. Remember that? There was a wing humanoid we showed. Well, it's been revealed to be a hoax. And I always tell you I'll update you guys once I find out these things have been a hoax or whatever. The alleged winged humanoid discovered in Mexico, remember I thought it was shenanigans too, which made headlines earlier in the summer, has been revealed to be a hoax. In an interview with Skywatch TV over the weekend, author and researcher L.A. Marzulli, I always butcher his name, I gotta get his name right, he's a well-known guy, detailed how his team managed to bring the specimen from Mexico to the United States for further testing by veterinarians. During the testing, he said, the humanoid underwent extensive testing by the experts, while initially everybody in the room at this point believes that the creature is real. Wow, that's written weird. However, 2 hours after the entity had been removed from the liquid solution that could, once contained it, the creature began to dry up and shrink. At this point, Marzulli said, we began to see that things that should not be there as the skin of the creature began to evaporate. Specifically spotted puzzling pieces of the creature that featured anomalous blue substances to it. Asking the veterinarian what the objects were, he replied, that looks like a matchstick or a toothpick, and that's glue on the end of it. Stunned, Marzulli looked closer at the creature and saw more of his blue material on the arm of the entity. At this point, the realization hit him that the winged humanoid was in fact a hoax. Further x-rays of the specimen with these new insights in mind revealed additional aspects of the creature which confirmed that it had been fabricated. So, yeah, it was too good to be true, and I thought that too when I saw it. I was like, yeah, I mean, I could buy there's little winged creatures flying around, maybe. I'm a very open-minded person. But when I saw it, I'm like, yeah, it's one of those things. There it is. It just too good to be true. Yeah, it looks like something out of, I don't know.
You can see the glue right there.
Yeah, but they were totally fooled, man. They took it all the way to America to get it tested, and yeah, they really thought it was the real deal. So yeah, don't believe the hype, people. These guys were really excited about it, but then it turned out to be matchsticks and glue. So that's it for the World Wide Web of Weird. Yay!
Yay!
All right.
Come on, chat room. There was much rejoicing.
Yeah, no. All right. Now to our guest here. Oh, I left my lower third up. Darn it. All right. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing all right.
All right.
Yeah, I have to say, though, the Kurt Cobain one was a little bit easy to spot.
Yeah, like I said, as soon as I saw the video, I'm like, oh, well, wait, he's not right-handed. I was a huge Kurt Cobain fan, but he sounds really good. I mean, he sounds like, if you weren't seeing it, if he had the left-handed guitar, you'd be like, wow, that's pretty good. And he sounds just like it. I mean, yeah, grunge music, yeah, but he has the inflection, everything. I thought at least I give him an 8 as a impersonator. If he was left-handed, I'd give him a 10.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'd give him a 10. So how you doing, Mike? I know you were traveling.
Right. Yeah. I just got back from Virginia today, so I was out at the Ferry Plantation this weekend, which was a pretty good event and investigation. So, Fairy Plantation, since we just had a winged creature up, did it have to do with fairies? I'm not familiar with that one. Ferry, F-E-R-R-Y. It was named for the ferry that they used to run across the water there.
Gotcha. I was going to say, I'm thinking fairies with wings. I'm in Wonderland,
Yeah, not that kind of fairy.
Okay. All right, so you've been traveling and you've written a lot of books. I only named a few of them tonight. But how many books do you have under your belt now?
Technically 7, although one of them is, and you're supposed to be writing some stories for the follow-up.
I know. I know. I'm working on it.
Yeah, the 7th is an anthology, Encounters with the Paranormal, so that's a collection of stories from a bunch of people, but I wrote 2 stories for that and the foreword, so 6 full books and then the anthology.
So I always ask people, what got you started into the paranormal? There's something got you to be the Ghostorian, which I love that title, by the way. Am I saying it right? Ghostorian? Is that how you say it?
Yes, you're saying it right. And by the way, you did say my last name correctly. It's
okay. I'm the king of butchering people's names, so I was like, for sure I was going to butcher it. But so a Ghostorian and investigator and traveler and author, what got you down this road of the paranormal? How did this all start for you, Mike?
Well, it started when I was a kid. I mean, as far as the writing, I started writing when I was in the second grade. It's always been a passion of mine. I've really loved the Encyclopedia Brown books, and I was trying to mimic those. So I wrote mysteries, and I wrote some, little ghost stories, and I also had some paranormal fiction, or not paranormal fiction, historic fiction that I wrote at that age, which some people might think 7 years old. Yeah, 7 years old.
Wow. I felt proud to be reading Cujo at that age, but not writing it.
Yeah, no, I like to, take the characters and, create stuff. So, as far as the paranormal, I had a couple of incidents when I was a child. The biggest one was when I was about 8 or 9 years old. Woke up in the middle of the night, and there was a shadow person standing in the corner of my room, and I was terrified, frightened, tried to scream, couldn't. It actually approached me, crossed my arms across my body, and then ran off down the hall. So,
what?
Yeah,
oh man,
it's crazy.
I know it's not to me, because I told you what I'm supposed to write to you about is my shadow person experience, which it's hard to get out.
So you got 2 weeks, by the way.
Okay, I got 2 weeks. I will be. I'm working on it.
All right. So I got up, ran off to my parents' room, and of course they told me I had a dream. And I was like, no, it wasn't a dream. I was awake. So, so that was the big incident when I was a kid. I had some other smaller ones. And when I was 13 years old, we'd been living in Massachusetts for the previous 10 years, and we ended up moving back to Ohio. My mom thought it would be kind of interesting, kind of different, if she got me a ghost book as a way to remember my, where I had been growing up, and it was Yankee Ghost by Hans Holzer. And so I was just fascinated by all of the true stories and tales that he had within this book. And he's written he had written over 140 books. So he had a vast library to choose from. But that was specifically the New England area and a little bit over into New York. I was just absolutely fascinated by it. And so things like that kept intriguing me and caused me to research, and just even like reading the Amityville Horror. I was like, I want to go there. I want to go there and find out what really happened. And so, I wasn't scared by it. I was curious.
Fascinated. Yep. I know that feeling, especially as a kid reading those kind of books, because I did too. It's like, I want to go there and see this. I want to see this kind of activity. I wasn't scared. I wanted to see it. I wanted to go, because I read Amityville Horror. I'll admit, I saw the movie first when I was a kid, and then I read the book, and then I was like, what?
Right.
The differences between movies and books, but I would read all the haunted Indiana books, because that's where I'm from. So at least I could go there and I could go here, and I have. Later in life I did. Right. Still got a lot of places I need to go, but you have Haunted Road Media. You travel. This is what you get to do. Go to these haunted places and write and investigate them. How long have you been doing that?
Well, I've been doing, focused on that, with the writing and all that, for about the last 10 years. My first investigation was when I was 16 years old, about 24, 25 years ago. How old am I?
Yeah, you're right. Do the math.
Don't think about it. Yeah, no, about 25 years, I guess. Up until the last 10 years, it was more, kind of, I guess you could call it like an amateur level, because I do little things like, you see the Sixth Sense. It's like, oh, wow, I can record spirit voices. And, before the internet came along, it was hard to go to your local library and try to find information on this. You'd find the Amityville Horror, and that was about it. Especially
you'd find the Amityville Horror, and you'd find a Lifetime or the Unsolved Mysteries set of books.
Yeah, you'd find all that. So there wasn't a lot on the paranormal out there, so it was like whatever you could try to get your hands on. Once the web started becoming a little bit mainstream, you'd find all kinds of, message boards, bulletin boards, things like that. You just start talking with people. And to me, that's where the paranormal community really started to grow and come into focus. Is you started finding all these people that you weren't the nutball anymore.
Yeah, right. That's what the internet's done. It's given us that way to reach out to people.
Yeah.
I think we're still the nutballs. There's just more of us.
Well, yeah, true. We're a bigger community now.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, so I mean, really, I've been doing this for about 25 years, and on a more professional level with all the books and writing involved, that'd be like the last 10.
Still, I mean, that's a lot more experience than I have doing it. I've only been investigating as a trained investigator in 2008. Now at 16, I was going out, the amateur investigating where you're going to places you're not supposed to be going,
Right.
doing those kind of things. But so I've always had it. But yeah, I've been doing it since 2008. I just only got to do things locally. You're living the dream, baby. You're out there going to getting to travel to these different places and investigate it. So tell us the list of places kind of you've been to throughout, on this haunted road.
Yeah, the road goes ever on. I have a lot of different places. Just over the past year, we got the Goldenrod Showboat, of course, the Ferry Plantation just did, Exchange Hotel. Yeah, Exchange is pretty good. Went to Pinhurst, but that was more of a conference than it was an actual investigation. But what I investigated there, but what I did get to kind of investigate there a little bit was it was called the Great. I'm trying to think now. Valley Forge, Great Valley House.
I think I've heard of that.
Well, it's a bed and breakfast, and they have a really cool stone sink in there. It's one of a kind from the 1600s. So it's got a lot of history, and it just really kind of did this was while I was at Pinhurst, did a walkthrough and then did a EVP session that's interesting. It's a crypt that's under a old loading dock that's a couple hundred years old. They bring everything into there, and nobody really knows who or what is buried under there. So Shauna and I did an EVP session from there. So yeah. So let's see other places I did this year. Did this Indiana tour earlier this year.
My backwoods.
So Randolph County Infirmary, Foxhall Farms, what was the other? Thornhaven. So
you need to come up and do if you haven't yet, Crown Point Jail, where Dillinger escaped from.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, that'd be an interesting one.
Yeah, definitely a lot of history with that. So you get doing this. You've gotten you're doing the recording. So you've collected a number of EVPs over the years.
Yeah,
I would have to think.
Yeah.
What are you getting kind of communication wise? You seeing with your EVPs? What are you hearing from the spirit world when you get? Because that's my big thing. That's my specialty is EVPs. When I for editing and for capturing, that's what I've focused on a lot of my investigations. Because I don't know. To me, it's my favorite piece of evidence.
Well, yeah, it's great as far as a piece of evidence because here's a spirit that's actually trying to communicate with you, or maybe trying to communicate with you. They could be saying something just offhand and you just happen to capture it.
Right.
It's interesting because sometimes you get a confirmation of something that you're experiencing or you've asked. There's I like to point to one that was at Black Bear Cemetery. This is out in Oklahoma, and I was just making an observation of a couple of headstones, how they were for the same person, and I got an EVP that said correct. I wasn't even trying to ask the spirits anything. It was just I was talking to one of the other investigators, and that came up. Had another interesting one. Was a residential investigation. We were just setting up, and so there was just a little bit of chatter between us trying to set up and everything, and got an EVP. And offhand I can't remember exactly what the words were, but it was one spirit saying we shouldn't talk to them. So it was confirming that there's more than one thing here and that they were plotting to not interact with us.
I would say this too. You said you got it when you were setting up, and I don't know how many EVPs I got like that. And for me, it drives me nuts. I've got some really good ones. I know they're legit, but I'm like one of those people. When I do my EVP session, I want it controlled. A video on everybody so I can see if what noises people are making to go back to reference. And we tag the hell out of everything. But when you're setting up, we're kind of chit chatting or doing whatever, and then you get this crazy EVP that comes through. I've gotten so many. I swear, are you getting the feeling you get a lot of that? You seem to get the EVPs in those in between when you're not really ready for it.
Yeah, I've gotten quite a few of those. It may be something where as you're doing something like setting up, you're just casually going about your business, acting, quite normal, where you sit down for an EVP session, and yes, it's very controlled, and you're almost, it's almost like an interrogation.
Yeah.
and so it could, right. And so they could be feeling very uncomfortable about that. Or if you're at like a public location, that they've had these questions thrown at them repeatedly, they might just be sick of it.
Oh yeah, that's what I've said. I've said that because I've been to places where started out you would have like this great activity, and then as more teams would go in, like the activity just stopped.
Yeah,
and I swear it's the ghosts are just like, I'm done with you. I had one EVP at a cemetery once, and I've never been a big fan of going to cemeteries and investigating ever.
I like cemeteries.
I do. I like the ones that have been abandoned and old. I don't like to go to ones where people are currently being buried. And this was one where
some
people
of those old ones people are still being buried at.
Yeah, true. But like Bachelor's Grove, that's
okay, yeah.
Like I like the old abandoned cemeteries, and it's got to have a lot of evidence of stuff happening. Like satanic rituals and people being dug up. I'm totally there at that cemetery. But we were going to this one cemetery all the time, and it was a definitely spooky one, but it's still active. It never heard a lot of activity. And I swear to God, I got one EVP. It said, "They're back." I swear to God, it said that.
Well, yeah, Bachelor's Grove. I mean, that's one where a lot of people are, do actually go and visit because it's a notorious, abandoned cemetery. And then there's the one, photograph from there that's quite famous,
classic.
But, the craziest EVP, and I've gotten a number of EVPs from cemeteries actually, but the craziest one I've ever got from a cemetery was actually in that same one where I got the correct EVP, but it was a different night. And the couple of other team members that I was with were already out of the car, and I decided I was going to walk around the cemetery one last time, just going to, feel my way through the headstones, and just out of nowhere, no provocation, nothing. So I was just walking around basically saying goodbye. And the EVP said, "My teeth are warm." Just, really weird.
That's a weird one.
That's a weird one.
What is your theory about how EVPs? I know a lot of investigators have different theories, but what's your theory about how EVPs are captured? How they're doing it?
I mean, really, they've somehow figured out a way to be able to put out that energy in order to somehow make a sound wave or what have you, whatever wave that needs to be created for the speaker to be able to pick up. They've figured it out, or maybe it's accidental on their part. They may not exactly know how they're pushing energy. They could be sitting there chatting it up with us for all we know. We don't capture anything, right? So it may be accidental on their part, or maybe somebody on that side of the veil has figured it out to this is how I need to manipulate my energy in order to get them to hear it. There's a lot of different theories out there. We don't know for sure.
Yeah, I've always been a fan of resonance and stochastic resonance as a possible way that they're doing it. And I was saying, I don't know how often you've sat a recorder down by itself and left it alone if you've gotten a lot of evidence. I've almost given up on that because I never get many EVPs I have, but not many, when I've left it alone and it's totally quiet. It seems like they always seem to come in between our conversations, or noises that are happening. Like they need that audio to reverberate or something. I don't know. It's just something I've been coming across over, since 2008, since I've been really doing it. Finding if I go back through my EVPs, I'll find a lot of them were in between us. Like I was saying something, and right after I ended it saying, it just comes out right after that, or in between us, or over us. But when it's quiet, nothing. Hardly. Usually nothing.
I've gotten a few EVPs that way by leaving a recorder somewhere, especially if it's a place that we had previously been experiencing a lot of activity, and there was another part of the house or what have you we needed to go explore. And leave a recorder there. I've gotten a few, but I've gotten probably more so other noises like footsteps or a door creaking open or closed or what have you. So other ambient noises around the house or location that could be some sort of paranormal activity that's not necessarily an EVP.
So what's your favorite historical place you've gone to? It has like the history, a great story, great paranormal activity. Like what to you epitomizes, like if you had to pick one haunted place you could tell people about, what would that be? Like, I know that's a hard one. I know there's a long list of
There's
places.
a lot of them, and you qualified it by saying historic.
Yes.
My favorite haunted location is Stone Line in Guthrie, Oklahoma. It has history behind it, of course, but it's not a quote unquote historic location. As far as like local history over there, yeah, it's got some. But to me, it's just, the epitome of a haunted house. You stand there, you look at it, you're like, yeah, that's a haunted house. And you just go in it, and it's really got that spooky vibe to it. It was a mortuary at one point, so the old embalming table sitting there in the middle of the entrance hall. You're hearing these creaks and groans of the house, footsteps all the time. Doors are opening and closing. You hear some voices upon the air. It's a haunted house,
Oh, yeah.
So I really like that one. As far as a historic location, there's a lot of them. Goldenrod Showboat's a favorite one. Samuel Mudhouse is a favorite one. There's a lot of good ones out there.
Yeah, I know. I put you on the spot with that one, but it's like, what if there was like the epitome, like, yeah, if I had one place to go back to one more time, it's got the story, it's got the activity.
Well, if there was like only one place I had to go back to, and that was going to be it done, I'd go to Goldenrod Showboat and take Shauna with me.
Wow, there you go. So what's the story behind that one then? Tell us the story, Mike.
Okay. Well, Goldenrod Showboat, it was the biggest, most luxurious showboat of its time, and it's it's got a lot of great. It's got a lot of great paranormal activity too. It's got a lot of great history behind it. The proprietor for so many years, Captain Minky, he's definitely there. But this boat, it's one of those where like Red Skelton got to start at. Bob Hope performed on it. It was, it went up and down the river for a while. Was docked in St. Louis for a long time. So it was a really classic showboat. You mentioned Coast to Coast earlier, George Norrie.
Mm-hmm.
He when I was on his show earlier in the summer, I was telling him the story of the Goldenrod. It's not in St. Louis anymore. It's near Campsville, Illinois, along the Illinois River, and he was like, "Oh wow, I was actually on there a while ago," and the tragedy that had befallen upon the Goldenrod was that it had fallen in disrepair for many years and was just basically docked along the river, and weren't allowed to do shows on it or anything like that anymore. But they the Riverboat Association and the volunteers and what have you, were running the paranormal investigations out of there, doing some fundraising, trying to get it fixed up, that sort of thing. And it needed some repairs on the hull. Well, last summer, they actually tried to move it, and because it needed some bigger repairs,
right?
And in doing so, it worsened the situation by buckling the hull. And so the owners were going to just scrap it.
Oh no!
Yeah, and of course, everybody was up in arms about it because this was a piece of history. It was a National Historic Landmark, and they were like, "Yeah, we're just gonna scrap the metal, burn the rest."
Oh,
really? You kidding me? Great piece of history.
Right.
So, and the doors of it actually closed April 1st. They kind of did the whole, legal battle thing, and the owners ended up finally gifting it to the Riverboat Association. They're going to move it back toward the St. Louis area. They're going to have to dismantle it and put it back together, and then refurbish it and all that stuff. So there's a lot of work to be done, but so there is this whole tragedy behind that, and it kind of makes you wonder. Okay, if they really did end up scrapping it, what would happen to the spirits out there? Because like
with the metal,
right? Well, they would just melt that down. I don't know, but the rest they were going to burn out, which is really an insult to the Goldenrod, because in the '60s, when Captain Minky was still the proprietor of it, before he passed away, there was a fire on that boat. It almost burned the thing down. It did suffer quite a bit of damage. And here's this 80-year-old guy up in there with a hammer, nails, and wood, piecing the thing back together. It was his life.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
So it's
might have a really angry spirit. It'd be something out of like Supernatural.
yeah.
If they tried to burn that thing. Well, I was thinking, if you take a haunted boat like that, you melt the metal down and then use it in something else. Because they've talked about them using parts from planes and another plane, and then the plane having the ghost that showed up from that plane crash. There's been those kind of stories that floated around. What'd you say, Todd?
Flight 707. That was the famous Delta.
Yeah. They reused the parts, and then the spirits of the people that died in the plane crash are showing up on all the other planes where the parts went to. If they melted that metal down, they used it if you're driving around in your new car, you didn't know you used recycled metal or something like that. And next you got this riverboat captain sitting next to you. It wouldn't be good. I don't know. Might not
That'd
be good.
Interesting, yeah.
Or a really angry one too. He's like, "Where's my boat?"
Could be.
So doing this, traveling like this, investigating, do you have a team that you go with, or you just are on your own most of the time?
Well, earlier this year, I'd been with a different team. I'm back, basically, Society of the Haunted. It's myself and Shauna. This past weekend was just myself, but kind of the two of us right now. And, I guess, we'll have some guests along at times. It's kind of the way we're going to work it for now. So, Society of the Haunted, it started in Oklahoma 5 or 6 years ago. And so the group has really changed since then, because I ended up moving back to Maryland. The other person, it was kind of, there were two of us that were like the heart and soul of it. And there were, other members that, it did a lot, but it was really the two of us. Well, I moved to Maryland. She moved down to Texas. The rest of the group kind of just fell apart. So, but I retained, the name and the website and all that stuff, and have carried it on. Kind of did some other things in between, and now it's back Society of the Haunted, Shauna and I, and
and just traveling, and when you guys and you go to a haunted location and investigate, or is it the whole like research and everything too? Or
we do a lot of we do a lot of the research too. For example, Campsville Grade School. That's basically right in Shauna's backyard, and like literally. And a really interesting location. It's a single floor school, and you get these footsteps from up above, but there's no second floor. We've gone up there. It's just rafters and blown insulation, so there's no floor to walk on. So we're wondering, okay, is there maybe a house that used to be there way back in the days? The school was built in 1936, and so maybe prior to that there was a farmhouse or something that may have been
two stories.
With 2 stories. So we're digging into the information, we're digging into the research, bringing up, we're finding historic books on the area, we're looking at old land plats, whatever we can get our hands on. We go digging for it. Go down to the county clerk's office, libraries, what have you. We dig into as much as we can, and we haven't found. It's interesting. We haven't found a 2-story building yet. We found like right next to it was a 2-story high school, which has been gone for many years now, but it wasn't on the exact spot. What Shauna did find that had been on the exact spot was an old archaeological dig. They were digging up Native American artifacts from there, and actually, if you go onto the hill behind the school and you look down, you can see the terraces of that was a dig site.
Oh yeah, no kidding. It could be possible that the spirits are just attracted to the school from the old one. Maybe did.
Yeah, it was pretty much right next door, so it's possible. We're still looking into it though. But we do a lot of research, obviously.
And I think that's the hardest for a lot of investigators is like, where do I begin to research? Like, how do I research an investigation? Like the history of a building and the stories. What do you do when you're trying to research? Like, what's your method to get down to what's going on with either a house or an old building that, you don't know anything about it. It's got paranormal activity, but you got to look into it.
Yeah. There are a number of different things. And like this weekend when I gave my presentations. What I usually present on is history in the paranormal, it's working relationship, and then I get into some nuts and bolts about methods of research. So where do you go? First off, for me is always the county assessor's office. Get any tax information that they may have on ownership information, things like that. Depending on the state and the county, you could actually get quite a bit of information. Some states or counties, depending on how they do it, will actually provide former owners. Some will include historic photographs of the location, so you may be able to actually see, well, this is what it looked like 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, what have you. And if you get like a whole list of former owners, then you take those names and you start throwing them into other searches. Like, I mean, you could always use Google, of course, but go to your local newspaper's archive, and if they have a way to be able to search their archives, just start throwing those names in there. Throw the address into that. There's a woman I was talking to this week, and she felt that she had reached a dead end of researching her house, and she was having all kinds of activity there. The house itself has only been around for since the 1970s, but the land that it had been on had been around for hundreds of years, owned by some other house down the street. I'm like, well, take the owners of that house from down the street that used to own this property, start throwing that into these different archives, and see what kind of hits you get. Maybe you're saying this might be a child spirit. Well, maybe 100 years ago, little Johnny that lived down at that house had run out into the woods, and it fell out of a tree or something, and it's right where your house is. It could be things like that. So and stuff like that could show up in. You could look at death record databases, old directories. If it's like if you're trying to find out where like a business had been downtown, the old directories are real handy. Start looking in old history books or compilations of history from that area. I found a lot of great information when I was doing my research for Ghosts of Maryland in a book from the early 1900s called Colonial Homes of Delaware and Maryland. And so a lot of the Maryland homes that I'd been researching for the book that were a couple hundred years old were in this book. And there were stories in there about the people that lived there, but just lost to time. So there's land plats. I love going through the old maps because they will actually show who actually owned the pieces of land, the parcels of land, and sometimes they'll show the buildings.
You find those at the library, or?
Yeah, library is a good resource. They'll have a lot of those. The county clerk's office will have a lot of those maps. So and then if you have a local historic society, they'll have some of that stuff too. So yeah, a lot of great resources out there.
If you approach somebody from the local historical society, are they ever shocked when you're like, "Hi, I'm Mike. I'm a paranormal investigator. I have some questions for you." Do they ever give you like the hands up, like, "Whoa, no"?
No. I mean, for one, you don't even have to really go that route if you don't want to, because all you have to do is say, "Hey, I'm interested in this historic property or what have you. Is there any information on here? Or I've heard stories about, that there's, something that happened over here. I want to find some information." I mean, usually when you say that you're a paranormal investigator, I mean, there's some that give you a weird eye. But there's a lot of others that are like, they're like, secretly, I'm into that too.
Right, exactly.
So,
and you might get some good information out of them more when if you
start, you might
you're just right up with it.
I've never had anybody at a historical society turn me away. Now, I've had some local people kind of turn me away. They don't, maybe it's, I don't know, just, somebody that might actually own the house. Maybe it's a private property that's, you've heard these ghost stories at, and they just don't want to talk about it.
They don't want they don't want the attention.
They don't want that attention, right?
I've seen that.
Even there are some actual historic locations. Some of them are really like embracing it now, which is good. But there's others that are like, well, we don't want to go down that route. They don't want all the paranormal teams coming in. So they just start deny.
Yeah, I've seen that in my own town.
Yeah.
some historical locations that they're run by little elderly ladies that are really sweet and nice, but they will not let anybody touch this certain building I want to do.
Right.
And I know there's activity. There's countless stories, but they won't talk about it, and they're not going to let anybody in there to research it. So I'm just waiting for a new generation to take over that particular mansion.
It's really kind of I don't know, it's really kind of polarized. Yeah, you'll get those the little old ladies that don't want to talk about anything. They want to make sure that's all safe or what have you. And then there's the ones that I don't know. Maybe it's the very extreme conservative old ladies versus the old ladies that like to gossip. I don't know, because there's others. No, some of my best interviews come from the elderly, because they have so many stories.
Yes, exactly.
from over the years, and there's a lot of them that actually do want to talk about all that stuff. Some of them just get to a point like, I don't give a crap anymore, and so they'll tell you everything. And I love talking to those people.
I think it's when the ones they feel like they have a place to protect, like they're protecting that building, like they feel like they got to protect it from any of that. I think people on their own, they don't have it, if they had history at a place, they'll talk about it, but yeah, it comes down to that they don't want any disrespect to come to the place. And I don't know about you,
and I can appreciate that.
Yeah, exactly. Because there are a lot of dedicated paranormal investigators out there, and there's a lot of people who are just in it for the thrill.
Right.
And I've seen places that let people in, and then when these other teams came in, they don't let anybody in anymore.
That happens. Unfortunately,
and that's the sad thing today. The guy who taught me everything I knew in the paranormal said back when he was doing it, early 90s and everything, he'd go up to place like, hey, I'm a paranormal investigator. Would you be interested in letting me come and check out, tell me the history? And they'd be like, oh, wow, really cool. And now when he says, now when he goes, they're like, oh, it's another ghost hunter.
Right.
How you've seen the TV shows have like a major impact. Of course, I think that's the biggest impact on the paranormal community. And you talked about the internet, like bringing us together. But where do you think it's heading? It's become this own thing. It's not even about the TV shows that are out there anymore. I think that they're on their downhill slide. But I think the awareness of the paranormal is getting a lot bigger.
Yeah, I think. There's a couple different ways to look at it, and some different aspects as far as the impact that the shows have. For one, there is a positive aspect in that it's helped to really, make this to put the paranormal in the public eye, and to make those that have experienced the paranormal feel more comfortable with coming out and revealing their stories. Because it used to be, like 50 years ago, you say that you heard voices and saw a ghost, you'd end up in a straight-jacket and thrown away. You'd end up in in the loony bin. So it's really helped to prevent that from happening. And so people are, more comfortable now. They're sharing their stories, what have you. And that's great. Because I think the more information that we have out there, and people are sharing their information, their experiences, we can start to find, some common denominators here within the paranormal, and try to figure out, what exactly is really going on as more people start to share. That's been great.
I would like to share notes, because you said you had the shadow person experience, which I've had. Talking about sharing notes. When I get that finished, I'm trying to get it written out. I want it to be right. I would love to hear your thoughts about your experience compared to mine. Mine wasn't as a little kid. Mine was as a teenager. But I'm very fascinated with the shadow person experience. 1 second, though, I do want to say I did see a couple people try to call in on Skype. I have opened up the Skype line now. We're almost at the half time mark for the show. So if anybody does want to call in, just I will. We won't hear you when you call in right away. Just let me finish the conversation we're having, and then we'll call on you. When you hear me call out to you, then we can hear you. So the Skype ID is OOJBLANDOO. So anybody you want to call in, you can go ahead and do it.
To flip the coin on that, there's a lot of things that the shows have done that have really hurt the field.
Yes.
You have the people out there, they're, just out there for the thrill. They think that, they see it on TV, they can, run in these different places. So you have, people that are trespassing at different locations. They, are disrespecting the spirits when they go there. they're conjuring things up. They have no idea what they're doing. And it's just because they saw it on TV. And now television, because we have to keep selling and keep upping the ante, keep upping the bar. For years it was like, okay, they walk into a location, they investigate, here's the reveal. And that kind of ran its course. Now everything's a demon. And so, so that's what I keep hearing about, is, demon,
they turn on the
Ovilus.
Like, they turn on the Ovilus, and it's like, I swear every time it'd be like demon.
Right.
A certain show I won't name. It would seem like every time they turn on the Ovilus, you get demon every time.
So, and it's just, demons are very rare. I mean, I had somebody, you can find it because it's in the comments of one of my YouTube videos, my Haunted Room Media channel, that somebody was claiming that they've been a demonologist since they were 12 years old. It's just,
well, who trains a 12-year-old to be a demonologist besides except for like a Winchester? From Supernatural. That's the only way that would make sense. You're out there like hunting. We're hunting demons. Your mom killed at a young age, and your dad's like off, hunting demons, and he has to teach you. I get that, but in normal reality, a 12-year-old's not going to be a demonologist. Wow.
Well, at the point they're going in South America, they might have to start with that.
True. So. Have you seen that stuff, Mike?
Banishing demons before bedtime.
Have you seen all this stuff going on in South America this last year, like with the schools with possessed kids all at one time, more than once? This has happened in a number of different schools. They've had to like shut them down and bring in exorcists and all this kind of stuff. Like kids just going nuts. Now, is it drugs? The Charlie game came up. Ouija board use.
Charlie, right? I mean, it could be something in the water. Right. Mass group hysteria. You see phenomenon like that.
That's what it looks like to me.
Yeah.
But my thought is too, is like a bunch of kids going, oh, it worked for them, we're going to get out of school.
Right.
But it does seem to be like, I'll admit it, my shows I have a friend that's a demonologist. I've had another demonologist on the show. If I put demon in the title of my show, I'm just to say it, I have a lot more people watching.
Yeah. It sells. That's what sells right, those demons. And that's why the networks it's all demon now, because it sells. And at some point, demon's going to run its course. I have no idea what they're going to go to next.
Oh, God.
One can only imagine.
Digicabra.
Yeah, Digicabra.
Copyright by Todd Reinhardt. No. No, but, that's the thing. It's like people like, they don't like Casper the Ghost. They want to be scared.
Right.
And I think, to me, that scares the crap out of me. The demonic thing scares the crap out of me. So, I think everybody goes the worst first. I think sex sells too, though, because my most viewed episode was Gavin Lee Davies, and I put in the title of his book, Ghost Sex the Violation, in my banner. And, I think I'm over almost 4,000 views on that one. That was my most viewed episode. So sex sells too, but.
Yeah, well, I guess next will be Sex with Demons.
I was going to say, now you're going to write the book Sex with Demons, and there you go.
There you go. Make it like a 50 Shades of Demon or something. Yeah. And people are on it. 50 Shades of Hell. There you go. I copyright Jason Bland. I'm gonna make $1 million. But you said it's a very rare occurrence, something demonic. Have you ever run across it in your times traveling, or going somewhere you think you've ever run across something demonic?
Quite honestly, no. I mean, I've run into, some nasty stuff, some malevolent human spirits, but I have actually not in all these years actually run into a demon. So how is it like suddenly so common for all these people to be running into demons when I've been doing this so long and have not run into a single one yet?
Well, that's been one of my arguments. Some of the guests that have been on have said anytime something is malevolent or dark or nasty, that it's automatically a demon. People can be jackasses too.
Yeah, basically.
When they were alive, that doesn't mean they're going to change.
Right. If you're an asshole in life, you're going to be an asshole in death, is usually the case.
And that's what I was saying, spirits, and if a spirit's sticking around, how long is the lifespan of a spirit? Is it eternity? Are they here? Or, what about the people that died thousands of years ago? Are there ancient Egyptian spirits walking around? Imagine if they're any sense aware of their dilemma, what that would do to that spirit. The dark shadow person experience that you had. To me, I had it. I didn't feel, a lot of people go straight to demonic with it. I've never been comfortable with that. I felt it was something else, almost alien-like in a sense. But, what happens to a soul after it's been here for so long? does it deteriorate? Does it become something else? Does it become evil?
I mean, that's a good question. I think that's one of the things we're trying to figure out as paranormal investigators. At what point does a spirit finally pass on into whatever the next step is? And there's a lot of people that believe in reincarnation, and I've recently been leaning more toward that direction. So at what point, do we walk along, upon the earth for a while, and then we get reincarnated? There's a lot of theories about, okay, there's another plane of existence and we go up to that for a while and then we come back down. Those people that linger around, I mean, you have the people that like mediums that'll pass people on, and we don't really understand what that is. They're passing them on to what? The next life, heaven, what? It seems like there's some spirits that have been, walking around for hundreds of years, but you don't hear too often, a spirit that's been walking around for 1,000 years, because you don't hear really those of like an ancient Egyptian or Sumerian or what have you, but you will hear one that's several hundred years old from like Scotland or UK or someplace in Europe or something like that. So yeah, it's a very, very good question. I think that's one of those things that we are really trying to answer as paranormal investigators. Yeah, we're trying to communicate with these different spirits. I like to say that I like to be a voice for those spirits and make sure that their story is told. But also, while I'm trying to make sure their story is told, I'm very curious about what it's like on the other side.
Me too.
And it seems that they have a few more answers because they've passed on now, but they don't have them all.
Right.
There's some interactions that I've had that. Some of them, because they haven't lived such a good life, they don't want to pass on to the next step, and they don't know what that is. But they don't want to go there because it might be one of those things where they've, while they were on this plane of existence, they had like religion or something drilled into their head. You were a bad person or you did a couple of bad things, so you're going to go to hell, and so they don't want to pass on to whatever it may be.
I've seen AVPs that made me think that.
Yeah, so they might have a couple more answers, but not all. So
we got Zachary on the phone here. Hold on.
All right.
You there, Zachary?
Yes, sir, I am. How y'all doing?
Doing good. Just getting your level right here. I used to have a 3 mixing board setup, which was a lot easier. I'm doing it with 2. So all right. But we hear you loud and clear.
All right. I know that both you gentlemen touched on the topic, like of doing research for a location that's supposed to be haunted, because a lot of that supplemental material and documentation that really adds credence to a location of making it haunted. But my question to Mike is, what if you just have a story? Because there are circumstances where there's no evidence really to back it up. There's no census records, no obituaries, no newspaper articles. The back of your mind, does that sometimes send up a red flag as to determining whether a location is haunted? And if it ever does, like what advice would you recommend to really assist somebody really in just focusing really on the investigation at hand, instead of holding those thoughts in the back of your mind of, well, maybe this location is haunted, maybe it's not. What do you recommend?
Well, always investigate a location. Give it a thorough going over every piece of it. Don't just focus on the area of whatever the story is. The stories and the history and all that are helpful to kind of give an idea of who you may be interacting with. And by all means, try to interact with those that are supposed to be there. But they may not be the reactions that you're getting. And so, keep an open mind and don't just close yourself into one spot. Now, as far as a location that has a story that you can't confirm, that becomes a legend. And usually, in the case of a legend, it's morphed so much over the years that it's no longer the true tale, and you've got all these other things added into it. But somewhere in there is a grain of truth. And it takes a lot of work to try to find out what that grain of truth is. And I always like to give the example of Effie the chambermaid from the Skirvin Hotel in Oklahoma City. Now, Effie the chambermaid was supposedly the mistress of W.B. Skirvin, the proprietor of the Skirvin Hotel. And they had this love child, and because, their difference in class, he didn't want her seen in public, so he hid her away at the in a room at the top story of the Skirvin Hotel, her with the baby, and just basically kept her locked up there. She grew very depressed, according to the story, grabbed the baby one day and just jumped out the window to their deaths. Of course, there's no record of an Effie having been there, no record of a love child, no record of a woman and a baby, jumping out of a window to their death at the Skirvin Hotel or any of the others around the area. So where the heck did this story come from? It had to come from somewhere. So this is when I was researching for Ghosts and Legends of Oklahoma. I kept digging and digging and digging. I grabbed as much information in history from the hotel as I could. Again, there's like no police reports or anything like that. So what was helpful for me in this one were newspaper clips. And I dove really deep into the newspaper archives around there and was pulling out any story that I could find on the Skirvin Hotel. And I did find that there was a man who jumped to his death from the Skirvin Hotel. And the room that he jumped from was actually not the top story floor, but about 2 or 3 years prior, it had been the top story. And he was just a salesman, and he was depressed, and he jumped out. So that's the one death. There was a woman a few years later who tried to jump out of the window. She was grabbed by security personnel before she was successful, and they charged her like $11 for drunkenness. So there's a woman who attempted it. So you have these different facts that happened there. And then you have some of the other purported hauntings that have gone on there where, people actually have seen the apparition of a chambermaid there. They've heard the phantom sounds of a maid cart going down the hall, and there's no maid cart. They've heard the phantom cries of a baby upon the air. One man even reported the ghost of a naked woman showing up in his hotel room when he was in the shower. So you have all these other stories that are thrown in there. And so, and the other one was the initials of the man who jumped out of the window were EF, which is the beginning of the name Effie. So you have all these different little pieces mixed in with some other, ghost reportings of the Skirvin Hotel, and you kind of see where they combined over the years to become this story. That, of course, is completely fictional on the surface, but if you dig into it and keep digging, you can find those grains of truth of where it came from.
That help you, Zach?
Yes, it did. Thank you so much for that. I do appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I think, too, one of the things Zach gets at that I always think about is, do you do all the research before you even investigate, or do you do the research after you've investigated a location? Do you want to be influenced by what you've researched, or do you want to validate what you captured afterwards by we didn't even know that and we got this response? What's your thoughts on it? Because that's one I've always been torn on. I've done both ways.
Yeah, I know there's a great debate on that. I prefer to have the information beforehand, and go in knowing who it is. I may be trying to communicate. Now, if the investigation doesn't go that way, I'm not going to pigeonhole myself into one certain train of thought. I'll go with how the investigation is working. If this is the room that's supposed to be haunted, we're not getting any activity there. Well, okay, we're not getting any activity there. We'll move on to another room. But to me, it's kind of the difference between you knock on somebody's door and whose house it is. The person that's there, and you can start a conversation with them, knowing some information. Or you knock on the door, nothing about them. Well, now you're kind of a salesman. So
and you can get better questions if you know ahead of time.
Right. Right. Yeah, you can kind of cater your investigation toward, well, we know this person lived here, and so I'm going to go in, I'm going to introduce myself to that person, and I'm going to talk a little bit about them, and ask some questions, down those lines, and try to become friends with them, and see if we can work it like that. I try to get a little bit more personal in my investigation.
So Zach, are you trying to go out, investigate, and become friends with ghosts?
Well, based on some of my previous experiences, they always come to me. So,
so you're one of those. And I feel like this. I definitely feel some people do attract more spirits than others. Well, thank you, Zach, for calling into the show.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jason. Have a good night.
You too. Now, speaking of that, people who attract ghosts, do you ever work with mediums at all?
Yeah, I do. My co-host for Edge of the Rabbit Hole, Vanessa Hogel, she's a remote viewer, fantastic remote viewer. So, there's been times called her into investigations. Did more of that when we were still in Oklahoma, and we were doing investigations out there because she was right there in Oklahoma. But yeah, still from time to time I'll call her in. She's quite busy.
All right, we got Laura Lee. All right, everybody keep your fingers crossed. We don't want to blow any equipment. If you have anything expensive, turn it off. Mike, I've had Laura Lee's called in the show before. Last time she, not the last time she called. I don't think it was the last time. It was the time before.
Every time.
Yeah. I blew my third mixing board, which was my favorite one. I don't blame you.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Jason.
and Todd's monitor smoke. You were talking about demonic. I think.
You still there?
We're still here. You hear us? You hear us, Laura?
Yeah,
Lee?
I can hear you fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, Laura Lee.
Hi, Jamie. How are you? That damn head of yours, my God. That's why I said I feel it right on the right side behind my head. I never get headaches. Hopefully it'll get better.
Yeah, I saw in the chat you said you're suffering major headache, so I don't want to keep you long. So what are you calling in to ask a question on Mike?
Yeah, I was actually.
Right,
I won't keep it long, I promise.
Nope, you're good.
Is he there right now?
He's here right
I'm
now.
here. Yeah.
Hi, Mike. Thank you
Hi.
very much. You've told some really great, interesting stories this evening. Listen, my question for you was that you said you've never run into a demonic entity, and I pray to God you never do. But with that being said, have you ever found yourself, say, thrown or physically attacked or had any injuries during any of your investigations? And if so, or if not, how do you protect yourself beforehand?
It's a great question.
I'll answer the protecting part first. Basically, before I go into a location, and I believe for anybody, whatever it is that you believe is going to protect you, as long as you truly believe it's going to protect you, whatever your faith system is, it'll work. For me, I just pray. I say a little prayer before I go in. I say a little prayer when I come out, for protection and all that. I guess I haven't really had a lot of injuries. I've had a couple little scares. Probably the biggest thing that happened to me was almost passing out one time, where I was just doing an EMF sweep of the library in the Stone Lion Inn, was just going past the fireplace, and usually the library is not known for any sort of paranormal activity, but all of a sudden it's a K2 meter that I was using, and it just spiked out to red, and I felt this huge wave of energy just blow right through me, and I got extremely lightheaded, almost passed out right on the spot. That was probably the biggest thing I've had happen to me. I haven't had any scratches or anything like that. I've kind of been poked and prodded a little bit. But yeah, that moment of almost passing out was probably the closest I've come to any sort of injury or what have you.
That sounds pretty scary. So obviously it sounds like luckily nothing's ever followed you home either.
I don't believe so, no.
Okay, no, I'm just asking. I've called in many times. This is my favorite show, and I'm so thankful for doing this show. But we've had some pretty bad experiences where I live in our home, and we're quite isolated. As far as I know, I'm the only person from Canada, and I live way, way up in northwestern Ontario. and just finding people, to possibly come and investigate, or are they who they say they really are. And Jason's been pretty good about having some really awesome guests on here, but geographically we're so limited. And I guess that's why I wanted to ask you if you'd had any negative physical experiences, and it sounds like you haven't, so I'm really happy for you.
Or do you want to? Because I know if you want to go all the way up to, what is it, Ontario?
It's in Thunder Bay. It's at the sort of the eye of where Lake Superior is.
If you want to go up there, Mike.
And every time we've tried to get somebody to come here, something's always happened, or my God, I could write a book. This has been almost a full-time job for the past 8 years trying to find help. My husband's been thrown 10 feet into the counter. Most people that are listening have all heard this, but what I started doing was taking pictures, because I can say as much as I want, but unless I have the pictures to document it, right, I could just be saying it. For example, and again, Jason's been awesome. We had a very awful experience. First time in all the years, 21 years living in this house. We almost left 2 weekends ago on a Saturday night. I actually reached out to Jason and reached out to another investigator we were working with, but she's quite busy now. And he got back to me right away, and thankfully what he suggested really did help. But like I said, we're still looking for help. And like I say, I could write a book on the people that right away from talking to them. You sound like the real deal, by the way, Mike. I wasn't insinuating.
Well, thank you.
But yeah, she's been on the show before. We've talked a lot about what's been going on in her home. I've talked to her personally about it. Mm-hmm. And, I don't want to say it's demonic what's going on with her house. I would not do that because I am not there. I've done the research. But the activity she has is serious enough to be done.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like a very concerning case. And so, yeah, it's, whoever you may get in there, you want to make sure that they're, serious about their work and what they're doing, and that they're just not, you have so many of these groups out there that are just thrill seekers. So you want to make sure that it's a true professional that's going in there. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's been the problem. We do have a so-called, and I say that lately, paranormal team in Thunder Bay. And I actually, of all times, ran into him in a store, and the girl that ran the store, I was supposed to show up 6 weeks before that the next day, and I'd gotten ill. And as I walked in, her mouth dropped because she had just been talking to me to this guy that had walked into her store. He wouldn't touch me. I don't know what the heck it was with him, but my heart went up to about 175. I could not stop shaking. And he said, well, you don't need to be afraid. And I said, no, I'm not. But anyways, long story short, actually my hubby and I just rewatched some of the videos on YouTube, and it exactly, just thrill seekers out almost to make like a comedic video and actually really make fun of a lot of people here. It looked like that really do need some help. And again, because we're so geographically,
that's not who you want
isolated. Yeah. So anyways, that's why I wanted to ask you. You've been very straightforward. It seems like every single person, and again, I know you mentioned that most people don't talk about this. I put in a chat, you can't exactly, it's not something you talk to somebody while you're waiting in line at the grocery store.
Right.
But once it may come up, like you said, under hushed breath, people saying, yeah, I'm into the paranormal too. As well as, Mike, how you had said, and it seems for everybody, this is all started as a child for almost any person I've ever heard, either on the show or through investigations. And it sounds like you had some very interesting experiences. So thank you for sharing them all with us. I won't hog the line. Jason, I pray to God I don't break your phone line.
Thank you for sharing your experiences. And I really hope you're able to find some very good help out there in order to take care of that situation, because it sounds like definitely something to be concerned about.
When it throws your husband 8 feet, 10 feet through the air, it's time to be worried.
Yeah, like this is like 2 weekends ago. Honestly, this was like something out of Supernatural when I actually contacted Jason because I didn't know what else to do. My husband was laying on the bed beside me, and I am a nurse. I'm off with a back injury. But anyways, I was awake, thankfully. He started shaking, almost like having a seizure. And I could barely wake him up, and I could barely lift him up. I had to almost. And when he was trying to wake up, he was talking to me, but it was his voice, but it wasn't him. Then when I finally sat him up, he was coughing out all this black stuff. Like I said, it's just crazy. Wow. I could not write a book about this. So that's why I was really interested in calling in with the fact that you haven't run into this. I know what you're saying about every person on the planet lately because of all these TV shows. It's a demon, it's a demon, it's a demon. I have called it that. I don't know what it is. I just want it gone.
Well, yeah, definitely want it gone, of course.
Anyways, I won't hog the line. Thank you so much for speaking to me. And once again, Jason, thank you for
problem,
letting me call.
I hope your head
Your
feels
mom's lovely,
better.
by the way.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, my mom's in the chat room today.
Anyways, you guys have a good night. I'll keep listening.
All right,
Okay,
bye,
talk to you
Lori.
later. Bye-bye.
Now, here's the question. We keep hearing about more and more instances, and like you were saying, it's the popular thing on TV. But it seems to be the big thing that's running across YouTube and all over the internet is a lot more of the demonic stories. So now there's a question. Is there a spike in that kind of activity?
Or is it just media that's like, making it happen, you know?
Well,
like because they're glorifying it, like with all the zombie stuff. You know, then you have all the zombie shows.
Well, you've
Yeah,
got
you
the
definitely have some
Charlie
of
stuff
that.
and everything.
Yeah, you definitely have some of that. I do think some of it, I mean, demons do exist, of course. And I do think that you're going to have some of, some people, same with the ghosts, that are a little bit more comfortable now in revealing their story and, just seeking help. They're like, okay, now we're at a point where I can tell my story and actually there might be somebody out there to help me. So you're going to have some of that on top of all these people that are going and, doing the Charlie thing and all the, TV and media trying to say, oh, demon, because it sells. So it's a mixed bag. You have the, a heightened legitimate cases that are out there just because, they're more comfortable in coming forward. And then you have a severe heightening in, all this fake crap.
And there's a lot of it.
I sent a goofy photo to Jason the other day. It was a Ouija board Happy Meal box.
Yeah,
but and that stuff's, the more and more that people get into the cards and the Ouija boards and all that, it almost makes you wonder, since it's become a big resurgent thing. It died out in the 70s and 80s, and now it seems like it's coming right back.
Well, yeah, you got a bunch of Ouija board movies and things like that coming out. I'm one that'll say that, and there's some people that know how to properly use a spirit board as a tool in order to be able to communicate with spirits on the other side. I mean, it's essentially what we're trying to do with like a voice recorder and all of that. We're trying to communicate with spirits, but it's sold as a toy. It's sold as a game, and kids grab it and they want to goof around, and they've seen it on TV, they've seen it on YouTube, they've seen movies, like, oh yeah, it's just all fun and games. And they don't know what they're doing. They don't actually understand that. Yeah, you're actually trying to communicate with something here, and without really realizing what they're doing, they invite something in accidentally, and then they don't know how to take care of it. So
it's the old rule: don't open a door you don't know how to close.
Right? Yeah, and so it's just ignorance. They don't know what they're doing, and it's sad, because then a family might get terrorized, or a whole group of people or what have you, just because they didn't realize what the heck they were doing. They thought it was a game.
Yeah, no, I work retail, and I remember a little kid coming in, and it was a pink Ouija board, like they had it in the Toys R Us bag, and I saw it, and I was like, oh, don't, you're at work, don't say a word, But I'm like, and there's this little happy girl with her pink Ouija board. And I'm like,
oh,
wow, these parents have to be sheltered nowadays to be like comfortable buying that, because most of us have seen the movies. I mean, I remember my mom telling me, and if she's still watching, love you, Mom. She's probably not. She's probably asleep now. But I remember her telling me, I think she was the one that told me this, is that she saw The Exorcist, and that movie had a huge impact, on everybody psychologically, in my opinion, when it comes to the demonic and paranormal activity. She went and burned her Ouija board. If I remember right, I think she said she burned her Ouija board. She'll have to correct me if she's on there or not, if that's what happened. But I think she burned her Ouija board after seeing it. Because, after I read a really good book, I can't remember the name of the author at the moment. It was American Exorcism. And a psychologist did a whole study on the whole demonic exorcism and what's the other, not exorcism, but deliverance ministries.
Deliverance, yeah.
And the whole phenomenon of it, and how, that movie, like, there's suddenly this outbreak of demonic possession after that movie, like people are like, I'm demonically possessed, I believe it's real. I what happened to me, not that I believe it was demonic, definitely opened to my mind that there are dark things out there that are that can mess with you very physically. I was picked up and thrown down. I mean, I know there's things out there that can do some of what you see in the movie, not all of it. You know, I don't think your head's going to turn around. You're going to puke up pea soup. You know. But I definitely think this, yeah. But I definitely think people can have some inhuman strength and levitation. I definitely believe that's that's happened in these cases because I've experienced it myself. So I believe the phenomena is real, but is it really getting that widespread again, or is it just this cultural thing that's happening because of Paranormal Activity and The Conjuring and Annabelle and all, now we're going to have The Exorcism on Fox, the TV show, I mean, like it's back, baby. If there's devil right now, he's like, I'm back, like everybody's interested in me right now.
It's in style now. It's in vogue.
It is. And I mean, so is it just really the media influencing everybody, or is it both? Is there really a rise in demonic activity and it's influencing the media? I don't know. It's something that fascinates the heck out of me.
That's hard to really know because we really don't know what level activity was there before, because people weren't really talking about it. Now we're talking about it. So, more cases are going to be revealed just because we're talking about it more. But then, you have the whole hype machine out there that's, generating and fueling all this. So there might be a little bit of play back and forth. Like one is fueling the other, and it keeps, now it's going around in a circle.
Well, I've already read a couple of articles on that, and a demonologist friend of mine that's in the chat room right now, Jennifer Malik, said the Vatican gets thousands of cases per year. Churches here in the States get hundreds, and they have, like in South America, are working and trying to get more established exorcists in a lot of these countries because they're dealing with more cases. They have an overload of them.
And people are, more people are coming forward now and revealing their problem. More so that I've heard, I was almost involved with it, where some churches are actually reaching out to, professional paranormal teams saying, hey, can you filter some of this stuff out for us, determine which are some legitimate cases and which are just, the crazy people calling in just looking for attention.
Yeah, no, I've known some investigators have been used that way, to be the kind of go-to to find out, let's get the preliminary work out of the way and make sure this is a serious case. I know if I got a case I ever felt that was demonic, I'm not going to be the one fixing it or dealing with it. I'm a data collector, if anything. I try to help people as best I can. I try to, what I did for Laura Lee was a suggestion. I told her it's just a Band-Aid. It's not going to fix your problem. It's just going to help you for tonight.
I'm not an exorcist or anything like that. I've worked on cleansings before, but to get to that point of trying to banish a demon. I mean, like I said, I haven't even been on a demonic case yet. So how could I, try to throw one out?
And my thing too is just like, I don't know about you religiously, how you fall. I'm agnostic. I question everything. I'm a Gnostic who has some beliefs, you could say, but they're still questionable. I question everything. So it's like I don't fall right in line with the Judeo-Christian belief. If I really was suffering from a demonic attack myself, I don't know what I would do because I'm not going to go to the church. I don't belong to one. For you, I'm not going to get too much of your own personal religious beliefs, but like how has religion and you do in your experience affected you? Because it's got to open up questions if you were from a certain faith.
I've talked about this stuff before because I have some issues, and on my show, I've talked about it before. But I grew up Catholic. That's there's so much Catholicism in my family. I have an aunt she's not just a nun; she's a mother superior of her convent.
Oh wow!
So yeah. But what's really interesting about this is that, like last Christmas, we're all sitting there in the convent, and I would be considered right now a non-practicing Catholic. I don't go to Catholic church. I tried some other Christian churches during my adulthood, and I got fed up with self-righteous jerks that just want to beat you over the head with a Bible while they're over here, cheating on their wives.
I feel you.
Yeah, exactly. So. We're sitting down there. We're just, having our typical family conversation. We're visiting her, and one of my aunts brings up the fact that I've been doing this ghost stuff and writing the books and all of that, and she didn't blast me for being evil and playing with demons and all this other stuff. She was legitimately curious because she'd experienced stuff there at the convent.
Actually, I went to Catholic high school for a year, and I've friends that are part of the Catholic Church, and we recently investigated a Catholic Church undisclosed location, and we're going back to do the covenant, and the priest there is totally open to it. He definitely believes there's this activity in his own church, and he let us come in to investigate. He doesn't want it to be public. But he let us come in to investigate. So I've talked to a number of people within the Catholic Church, priests, before when I was in high school about it, because I just asked. I didn't care. I was the type of kid that didn't care if they were going to yell at me or not. I asked them what they thought about ghosts and stuff like that, and they were some really knowledgeable people, in my opinion. Especially the priest I talked to in high school. They were very open. You didn't castricize me for saying that or asking about the paranormal and his thoughts on it. He was totally interested. So
Catholic Church is one of the only ones that actually acknowledges the existence of the paranormal.
True.
Yeah, because they actually perform exorcisms. So that is one of their rights. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. I think in some ways it's almost like the like the ones that we were talking about that are like at the Historic Society that might not want to talk about it, and others that do. I think at within the church, it's kind of the same thing where you have some that don't want to talk about it and others that do. And then you have those churches out there that are like if you think you're talking to a ghost or a spirit, they're all demons. I've had plenty of those as well.
Oh, I've had people on the show that feel that way, and I've had friends that have felt that way, and it doesn't ruin our friendship. We disagree.
Right.
They feel like everything I'm talking to is demonic. They're Christian, and I'm one of those people. I don't judge anybody for what their religious beliefs are, as long as they don't judge me, and I'm still not going to judge them.
There you go.
And I've had guests on. Even one of the demonologists. Her opinion was there were very few spirits. Most of them were demonic, and that's her opinion. I told her, I disagree with that. She says she's met very few spirits. She's met mostly demonic. I'm like, well, then I would be done. That was my case. Because generally, myself, the only time I read anything close enough to it is when I wasn't even looking. Well, I was kind of looking, but I was 17. I wasn't an investigator. Doing all the investigations, residential ones. I mean, beforehand, I've gone in, and the client is like, it's a demon. It's a demon. I know it's a demon. And we go in there, and I have to, I go through the whole case with them, and I even try to, I'm not a demonologist, but I'll tell you these are some of the things you should look for if it was demonic,
right.
And you're not experiencing that. You're going to the darkest place. And I think that's what happens when people live in a haunted house. I don't know your opinion on this, but I think a lot of people go right to the demonic thing because you fear the worst.
Right.
You start having something happen, and Hollywood's helped do that to you. It starts off just a little bit of scratching on the wall, or a little knock, or just the childhood fun game with the Ouija board, and next thing you know, you got Beelzebub sitting at the end of your bed.
Just a lack of information and not understanding. Yeah, exactly. You have the whole Hollywood hype machine now that they take it from a little knocking over here, and a doll fell to the floor or whatever, and the movie ramps up to all this catastrophic stuff going on.
There's somebody's head spinning around and puke up pea soup. I tell you, the only movie that ever really truly scared me. Nothing really does now when it comes to movies, but the only movie that really did truly scare me back in the day was Exorcist when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I caught that. That scared the living hell out of me. Now I can watch it and kind of laugh. I can't even repeat the scenes I laugh at because it would be too vulgar. But I still laugh. But the concept still scares me. When
the little kid went up the stairs backwards, that was
that's a good one.
Right?
Yeah, that's pretty creepy.
Terrifying.
So that's what I say. People, I think we have it psychologically. If Hollywood just doesn't go for the regular ghost activity, they go for the full blown out. It's got to be dark, scary, and crazy. Like the Poltergeist movies. They took that to the max extreme, and I'm like, generally, none of that has to do with what an actual poltergeist case would be like.
No, you got the guy tearing his face off in the bathroom, and I remember, Yeah, we started watching that one time. My parents knew it was coming up, and they turned the TV off. That's all right. We'll go next door and we'll watch it over there, and we'll watch the guy tear his face off. It's yeah, all kinds of crazy stuff like that.
And the guy comes up to your door going, "Can Carolyn come out and play?"
Right.
Carolyn.
Yeah, but the sale of tennis balls spiked after that one. So,
Oh yeah.
But you're gonna say, Mike? Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was gonna say just like the bodies coming up out of the pool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I still love the movie.
well, that just happened in Louisiana, and the cemetery's all flooded out.
True.
Well, yeah, that can legitimately happen, but they're not gonna try to pull you down and drown you.
Take you down with you.
Right.
After the and then make you drink an infected haunted worm of some kind out of a tequila bottle and make you go crazy. I mean, that's what Hollywood's done. It's taken us to that point. And now the reality shows, I put that in quotation marks, when it comes up haunting, are doing it too. They've taken us to that level too. Like you said before, how many times it's come up a demon, or shows that just focus on the demon. Like I think Destination America's biggest I think it was like their biggest ratings they got, but it was like also the most like let down to anybody was the live demonic exorcism.
Yeah.
You remember that?
I remember that.
Chip Coffey, and I love Chip, but they got them all in to do this, and I knew it was going to bomb. I knew it was going to be people are going to tune. I knew it was going to not bomb ratings wise. People were going to tune in.
Oh, they're going to tune in and watch, of course, yeah.
But I knew the tweets coming afterwards were going to be just god awful, because and I know we've sat on investigations for hours and hours and hours and hours, and nothing happens. I don't care if you're at the demonic house where the real life exorcism happened or not. You're going to sit there for hours and nothing's probably going to happen.
Yeah.
Well, that's the problem, though. You're talking about TV and ratings, and that's where a lot of the people start tending to lean towards faking things or overreacting on every little thing, because people are only going to tune in for so many episodes of, we found absolutely nothing. Yeah. And then that's it. That show's done.
Yeah, if you look at like the early seasons of Ghost Hunters, the first season, they only had two cases on that season that they actually said, well, yeah, you have some paranormal activity going on here. Every other case, they debunked everything.
Everything. Yeah. It was barely every time they would ever get evidence. Now I'm just saying
every single case.
Every single case. Yeah. And I've heard inside rumors about that show and other shows that there's some fakery going on. I don't know if you want to get into that or not, but it concerns me.
Every show has those accusations.
I know. But that's what concerns me, because it's, I remember when Ghost Hunters first started, nobody was accusing them of nothing.
But on the same token, you don't even necessarily have to accuse the investigators of that. Now you've got a film crew.
Well, that's usually what accusations fall.
Yeah, it's a film crew working for a TV station that has the responsibility of some sort of content must show up. So, I mean, the knock on the wall, the investigators might be entirely innocent, and it's some production assistant that ran down a hallway.
Well, there's that recent article that came out of the, I've just recently read it, the article about this illusions company, basically saying they've gone to a number of haunted locations and faked paranormal activity and fooled people. Have you seen that, Mike?
I haven't seen that, no, but I have seen, some locations that, the team has shown up at, and I can't remember I think it might have been a Ghost Hunters episode, at least in one of those. Oh, and I think it happened in Ghost Adventures as well, where basically they were setting up props and stuff to fake them out, just to get their place some attention.
Oh, sure. The haunted hotel with no evidence doesn't have the bookings, but as soon as the haunted hotel's got everything, well, guess what? They're booked for the next 3 years.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I remember one episode where Jay and Grant caught it right away. Like they just busted it out. But there's one of the last episodes I really watched of them. This is years ago, because I kind of just got sick of it. They went to they were building a haunted hotel. They took an abandoned place that said they had activity. They really didn't have history too much, in my opinion, on it. But Jay and Grant go in there, and they're going to be there's a motive to fake it here, because they want to sell tickets to come stay at this haunted hotel. They hear this voice go, "I like the guy in the hat." And it's not an EVP. They hear it with their ears.
Yeah.
And they're like, we've tried to debunk this. We've looked everywhere. I'm like, I'm sorry, my friend's a magician. Don't call it real, because if there's a will, there's a way to fake it.
Sure.
And I could think of a number of ways they didn't look that he could have faked it. And that's when I got really, I think the guys are great. They started something. I'm not, being part of a TV show is its own beast, I'm sure, and a lot of responsibility. And I'm not criticizing those guys so much. I'm not trying to, but I was disappointed. I was really disappointed because I'd been investigating at that time for a few years, and I'm like, I know that could be fake. That could totally be faked, and there's a motive there to fake it. So that's my worry. Is that at some point is this whole community going to reach a peak where we're doing great, and then suddenly somebody ruins it for everybody because of that?
Well, I mean, you've had plenty of people faking over the years. So
yeah, true.
A lot of legitimate
UFO
cases
communities like that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. There's people faking UFOs all the time. So you're always going to have that, which is why you're always going to have, people on the outside of the community that are always going to remain skeptical, because they're going to always say, well, that could be faked. Any of those YouTube videos, and I have over 200 YouTube videos out there on Haunted Road Media, but you see out there on YouTube all the time where here's this video and that video and this video, and there's a lot of them out there that are fake. There's some that might be legitimate, but anything. Any photo or what have you, it could always be photoshopped. You could always have some sort of visual effects, done if it's a video, whatever. There's ways to do it. And so, even if you capture the best piece of evidence ever and you present it to the masses, there's always people that are going to say, well, that could be fake. You could have photoshopped that. You could have whatever,
That's what I'm getting to.
Described my entire job on this show.
Yes. Yeah, that's why he has the asshole merit badge. But no, you're I guess the point I'm getting to, you got right there is, or what the next question I should say is, do you think there ever is going to be that piece of evidence that somebody's going to capture that everybody, even the skeptics, are going to have to open their jaws to? Do you think that's possible? Or even the fact that, people are working on spirit communication and all that, they're going to get two-way communication at some time. We're really going to blow the lid off this thing. There's always going to be the way it is.
There's always, it's just never going to be undeniable. And I'll tell you why. Okay, I used to work with a guy. It was kind of interesting. We'd have some good conversations, and he wasn't an asshole about it. But he was a atheist skeptic. So he didn't believe anybody had a soul, and he was skeptic about everything. He would actually go to the skeptic conferences and all of that stuff. So and here I am, the ghost guy of the office, and so we would have some interesting conversations. We kept it civil. He would argue with one of the other guys that would throw religion at him, and they'd go at it. But he would tell me that he had a number of experiences where I would call it a ghost. These different situations that happened to him, and it's like, you would call that paranormal because there's no explanation for it, and these different things happen. He's like, but for me, I would say that there's just not a way I can explain it yet. There's a way somewhere out there that I could explain it, but I just haven't found that way to explain it yet. And he'll forever remain stubborn like that.
Well, I'm a bit of a stubborn a-hole like that too, but I'm not an atheist. I definitely have seen enough to believe that there's something, but I also believe there could be a huge scientific explanation for all of it.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm, that maybe that's my next point is, do you think science will ever and paranormal ever meet up? Like at some point they will be able to explain the phenomenon that's happening, and it could still be life after death. Even, I mean, we could find that there's hidden dimensions and realms that we go to, that the spirit does exist. You think science is ever going to meet us up there?
I think there's aspects of science that are trying to do that now. Science has already shown, there's many, many different dimensions. They've theorized like 12 different dimensions.
They keep changing it. I can't keep up.
Yeah, right. So you have a part of science that's trying to prove the God particle and all of that. So I think eventually they'll meet. You have scientists that are believers and vice versa. So it's there. I think that you can use science to basically prove spirituality and all that. It's just a lot of people don't want to.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think scientists is a mixed batch of people, and there's the atheist scientists, or just like you said, the guy, he could have a ghost appear right in front of him, and he's just like, unexplained anomaly, Yeah, and that's it. It's not a spirit. It's not a soul. I don't believe it. It's there's some other explanation. And maybe they're right. I mean,
Yeah,
maybe they
light
could be right.
refracted off of a historic photograph that bounced off of a mirror that interacted with some sort of mist particles in front of whatever. I don't know.
Well, that to me, it seems like, wouldn't it just be easier to believe that it's a spirit?
Right.
It seems a bit complicated, but I've heard those kind of explanations. Yes,
Right.
even with EVPs that I've gotten, there's like, oh well, they're picking up radio signals on the little recorder. Stuff
Yeah,
like
but when you
that.
start picking up EVPs with words that they're not allowed to say on the radio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not that. Yeah, because it's a swear word. Oh yeah,
Right.
I've gotten those.
That's the one that always gets me to pay attention.
Yep. When the spirits cuss at you.
Yep.
Yeah, but when it's an app or anything that's got preloaded sounds, that's where I have the issue. But when it's AM radio that drops the F-bomb, it's like, okay, here we are.
Right.
Yep. Exactly. So you speaking of that, do you get EVPs? Do you do any of the spirit box stuff on your investigations at all?
I have before. I'm kind of mixed on them because I've gotten some of those responses using the ghost box that have words that you're not going to get on the radio. A lot of times I think that it is radio bleed over, and it's hard to really discern. Okay, was that a spirit manipulating this interaction with me, or was it pareidolia? Even though it's supposed to be like split minute pieces of seconds of words, sometimes you hear it that it dragged out. It's like, oh yeah, I know what song that was, or whatever. And the other thing I don't like about the ghost boxes is that when I'm in a location, I mean, I like to use my ears. I like to use all my senses.
Oh yeah.
And the ghost box just completely obliterates that.
It does. Especially a noisy SB7 going. It just like literally shuts your ears down. Like it gives me a headache if I listen to it too long. Yeah, very quickly. So
there's some locations like I was talking about the Campsville grade school before, and those footsteps that we're hearing going across the ceiling. There's no way we'd be able to hear those if we're sitting there and we have a hack shack or an SB7 go not gonna happen.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm back and forth. I do use the apps and spirit boxes on investigation sometimes. I don't like using them on residentials at all. Really, that's where I'm at with that.
Okay.
If I go to a residential house, I want to know what are they living with, what are they experiencing. They're not turning on a ghost box in their home, when they're there. So I just want my recorders to go and just get the ambient of what happens here at night in this house, or during the day. So I like to take them, if I do use them, I like to use them at more historical locations,
Okay.
bigger venues. But even then, like I said, if it's like I found quieter versions than the SB7 and stuff like that. But at this point, I just cannot stand the SB7 alone. I just won't do it anymore. It's just, I can't hear anything after I'm done with it.
Yeah, it'll give you a headache. That's for sure.
Anybody else too that wants to call in? We got like 13 more minutes. Remember, it's OOJBLAND. Mike, you're putting together an anthology. You said you got about 2 more weeks. You'll take stories.
Yeah. I have the first one is Encounters with the Paranormal. This is going to be like more Encounters with the Paranormal. So basically, it's a collection of stories from people all over the country, like yourself, that have had different experiences and encounters. And really, the point is to just everybody has a ghost story, or almost everybody has a ghost story, and just to kind of let people know that everybody, to I guess make people feel more comfortable about sharing what their experience is, and just show, hey, there's all these everyday people out there that have had some sort of experience. Here's their story. What's yours? It's okay to come forward, and you're not crazy. I've had so many people like on Facebook or whatever just shoot me a message, say thank you for sharing what you share between your videos and what you write about and all that. It's like I finally feel like I'm not crazy.
And I think that's a big part of it, is people getting it. It's like a group therapy, and that's what the internet's become for the paranormal community. It's group therapy for people. I mean, I've asked a lot of people, why did you get into paranormal? Usually there's something that scarred you in your childhood or adolescence, somewhere that you witnessed something that's got you interested in it. But that's not always the case. But for you, it was. For me, it was. And it's great to know you're not crazy and there's other people. That kind of support.
Oh, absolutely.
Group. Yeah. For people that want to contact you still, like you said, you have about 2 weeks more, you'll take stories. Yep. How do they contact you for that?
They can contact me through haunterroadmedia.com. There's, a contact page there, or through Facebook. You can hit me up there, and we'll connect. So
I think you could do a lot of these books, to be honest, because there's so many people out there, so many stories, and I think most people love hearing it. I mean, that's why I think some of the most popular shows are like celebrity ghost stories. I love that show. Because people love hearing it. People love hearing people's ghost stories. The experience. Because people lay it out on the line, and usually there's always some history people find out about their place, and it's just it's great to hear. I love ghost stories. That's one of the best things I think about being a paranormal investigator is I tell somebody I am, they're like, "Oh, let me tell you what happened to me," and I'm genuinely interested. I want to hear it. I love hearing it. There's not one time like, "Oh no, somebody else is going to tell me their ghost story." No, I actually every time I'm like excited to hear their experience.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and I'll have we did a video when we were at Silicon where I mentioned to Shauna that because somebody had come by the table and they told their ghost story. I was like, okay, cool, thanks for sharing that, and they went about their business. And I just told Shauna because it was actually her first conference. She's been investigating for 10 years, hadn't been to a conference yet. It was kind of interesting. So I was like, yeah, you'll get that. People come by and share your story. She's like, you should collect those into a video. And so we actually started when people wanted to share a ghost story with us. It's like, hey, can we get that on a video? And so there's a ghost story video of what people were sharing at Silicon. So it's really interesting because it's I don't know. I'm just fascinated by other people's experiences, because you'll get like history of a location, you get that personal interaction, and even sometimes there's like a little lesson involved. It's kind of, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
They have their own like story arc, to people's instances. There's a lot of common denominators I feel too between people in certain paranormal instances. I hear them. You hear a story from one person, hear another one. Yeah, they're different things that happen to people, but you'll hear a lot of the common denominators, like of kind of activity. And I think that's how people relate to each other too. It's like, oh yeah, I experienced something similar like that.
And I think that's how in this field, and we talked a little bit about it earlier, I kind of brushed on it, is that I think that's how, we'll learn more about, how it works on the other side is that, we're not really ever going to be able to see into there, but, through the different stories, one day, yes, we'll all have that opportunity. But until then, what we have are, people sharing their experiences and just, find those common denominators and piece it all together and say, okay, this is the most common occurrence of this, and that's what happens. And this is the most common occurrence here, and that's what happens. So that's how you kind of try to piece all these different things together.
And I think that's always been one of my biggest interests in the paranormal is what is the other side? What is it like on the other side? I think that's why I like EVPs, because it feels like you're getting to hear a little snippet of the sounds of the other side in a sense when a person comes through. For me, that's always been the biggest question, and I think for mediums, they get that question a billion times over. What's it like on the other side?
Yeah, that's the biggest question for everybody, whether they say they believe in the paranormal or not, is what happens when we die.
Yeah.
And it's one that people just don't have an answer for.
And with the TV shows being played out the way they are, and that interest going away, I don't think the interest in paranormal goes away. I think it just keeps growing, because that is one of the ultimate questions of life is death. What's going to happen to us when we pass on? What are your thoughts? Like, have you formed Mike's mental picture of the afterlife yet?
Mike's mental picture of the afterlife. No, that's a good question, because it keeps changing. As I keep going through this journey, my view of the afterlife, keeps changing. It keeps really, it's like new facets keep getting added to it as I, as I research and as I interact with, different spirits, or I'll read some other philosophies and, hear about other people's experiences and what have you. It's like, it forms different pictures. Then I have some other personal experiences that are like, like I was mentioning reincarnation before, like I didn't used to believe in that, but then I have some other personal experiences that are just like, wow, okay, yeah, we've had a past life together. So.
I agree with you. I have friends that are like, I don't believe in past lives. I've had some experiences in my life. like I said, I'm a Gnostic. I question everything, but I definitely believe that's possible. I've had some past lives. Some really serious experiences. So I can't always remain a Gnostic, but I can't like choose a religion on it either. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
I definitely think the question is like, if there's reincarnation, then how many, it must be that not everybody reincarnates if we got the ghost activity going on, or not right away.
Well, there's a heck of a lot more people that have died than have ever lived. So
Right.
Or at least they're alive now.
Yeah. And so those are the questions. So these things, it's like one question leads to another. And I mean, like some of my favorite afterlife movies included reincarnation. What Dreams May Come.
Okay. Yeah.
Another favorite of mine is Defending Your Life.
Yeah, I remember Defending Your Life. That was a good one.
That's one of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
Anybody you've ever seen, go find
Past
it.
Lives Pavilion.
Yes, the Past Lives Pavilion. He goes in there and he finds out like, he lived in Africa and he was killed by lions and he was running scared. And then the girl that he's dating goes in. It was Meryl Streep, right? I think it was.
Yeah, Meryl Streep and Albert Brooks. Yep.
She finds out she was Sir Lancelot.
Right.
Like
I like it because they show a couple other people and there's like the old guy that sees himself as a little girl. What the hell is this?
You got to wonder, is it going to be like that when you go over? Is it going to be something like What Dreams May Come? Or is it going to be something like, you're going to have to get a lawyer?
Yeah, to defend your life, right?
Defend all the stupid crap you did in life before you move on.
Yeah, some people might are screwed.
Yeah, right. I need a good lawyer. And then what's, like you said, some of these spirits they haven't moved on to that realm to know that they're here with us physically because they're afraid to move on.
They're afraid to move on, or they feel like there is more that they have to do, or they might be waiting for somebody. Like, I firmly believe that, my grandfather was hanging around for a while until my grandmother passed away.
Now that I absolutely believe.
Yeah. And then there's the instances people have that are paranormal. I know we got 5 minutes left, but another rabbit hole to go down to is the instances of people having that, people live in a haunted house, they have an unknown ghost to that, but people, I think a larger percentage of people who have had paranormal experiences have to do with a family member who's passed on. Not a haunted house, because that's not as common for people to live in haunted houses. But I know I've had that experience, of seeing a close family member after they passed on, and I think a lot of people do. And I don't think they're ghosts wandering the earth. I think there's just this general human experience that people have where a family member comes back to let them know they're okay.
Yeah,
and
that definitely happens. Sure.
Yeah. And that's something that amazes me too, that it makes me wonder. It's like they get this time to say goodbye and then they move on. What's the difference between them that move on and the ones who still stay, and I think some of the most incredible paranormal experiences I've heard are these instances of a family member coming back to them more than to the experiences of somebody living in a haunted house.
Yeah. Those are more touching,
Mm-hmm.
Because I think everybody can relate to the passing of a family member. And that desire to want to interact with him one more time.
Yeah, and and of course, skeptics rip that one apart as what they call it. There's a term for it too, for basically somebody who's suffering emotionally, delusions. But there's a term for it they use.
There's people that have those experiences before they've even found out that a loved one passed away.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep. Can't shoot that one down. Yeah, definitely. So I think there's a lot. I think that you have a lot more books in you to write. When it comes to this subject, there's so much more you could do. And I think you could, like I said, I think you can continue to do books of people's paranormal stories because there's so many out there and there's so many people that love reading about them. I know I do. So when's that book going to be due to come out?
That's going to be due to come out the middle of October. It's definitely something that I want to keep doing and, giving other people a platform to, speak and share their experiences. It's not just me. I mean, we're all in this together. So, as long as they get their stories in there, Jason.
Yeah, I know. I'm working on it.
Before we run out of time, Mike, make sure you tell everybody where to get copies of your books.
Yeah, that's my next question.
You can go to MikeRicksecker.com if you can spell my last name, MikeRicksecker.com or HauntedRoadMedia.com. I also have, and everything's on Amazon. I also have the YouTube channel, Haunted Road Media. So check that out and subscribe because I share all kinds of stuff out there. So and then Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all those great social media places you can find me.
Can't miss you. You're out there.
I'm out there.
And I'm sure people will be looking for that book if they love ghost stories. Definitely want to check it out. I know some of your other book titles. I got to get my Kindle charged. I know I say that every time. There's some of the other books I definitely want to get. The what was the one title of your book? I'm like, okay, I got to read that because it sounds like. Sometimes titles I know can be like the picture of a book. You know, it's just a title, but I swear some titles say it all. You know, like okay, I want to read that. What was the one? System of the Dead. What is that book about? I got to ask.
That's one of my mystery novels. Remember, I said before that I was really into mysteries. My first novel, Deadly Airs, was actually, or my first book was actually a novel, Deadly Airs. It was a mystery. System of the Dead's a follow-up to that. So in the first one, it's a private investigator. He's hired to find the last will and testament of a billionaire who supposedly drowned in a swimming pool. And in System of the Dead, he's been hired to figure out why a very influential computer developer who was on the brink of releasing this great new operating system that was going to blow away everything else and make a crap load of money doing it, why he was suddenly found up strung up in his from the tree in his front yard.
Because he's going to make Windows 10. That's why.
Yeah, but it was an apparent suicide, so it was like, why would he kill himself right in the brink of this? So
he was making Windows 10.
He was making Windows 10. Yeah.
And there's the spoiler. No need to buy the book.
Actually,
I definitely want to read that.
Actually, he was making Windows 8.
Windows 10 is going to be the sequel now.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Mike, for coming on. Definitely want to have you on again.
Yeah, let's do it.
So, we'll definitely keep in touch and see about getting you booked again here on the show very soon.
Okay, sounds good.
Thanks everybody who called in tonight, and definitely get the end music rolling here because I'm past the 12 o'clock time now.
Well, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much. Keep in touch. We'll definitely get you back on. Check out Mike Ricksecker's books. What's going to be the title of the book coming out? I missed that. I don't remember.
Right now it's tentatively more Encounters with the Paranormal, but we'll see, how it shapes up. Maybe it'll be Encounters with the Paranormal Volume 2.
All right. Something along those lines. Check out for that book. All right. Thanks, guys. Check out coming on just in about 15 minutes. I think he's going to start it. Bill Perry, that has been on the show before, Pumpkinhead Paranormal. Go check out his midnight movie horror, A Legend of Boogie Swamp. I think I just butchered it. Boggy Swamp. Thanks, guys. See, we're saying boogie, like boogie woogie. No. Boggy Swamp. Legend of Boggy Swamp. He's playing that movie tonight. Go join him. Have fun. Get your popcorn. I wish I could join you guys. I got to be up early in the morning. So does Todd. He won't be there either. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Todd. Thank you, Mike. Everybody have a good night. Next Sunday is going to be ITC Collective Night. Not sure what we're doing yet. It might be open lines that night with the spirit boxes and all kinds of crazy weirdness going on. Laura Lee, don't call in on that one. You're going to blow my last mixing part. All right, guys. Have a good night. See you next Sunday. Same bad time, same bad channel.
Night, everybody. Bye.
Good night.
Night.
Oh,
Again, thanks to Mike Ricksecker for coming on the show tonight. Had a great time talking about his Ghostorian experiences. Again, tonight, about 15 minutes after the show here, Bill Perry, Pumpkinhead Paranormal. Go check out his channel tonight. Watch Legend of Bogey Swamp. It's going to be good. It's going to be some ghouly kind of deal going on, I think, here tonight. I wish I could be there. I will try the next time he does it. I'm hoping. All right. ITC Collective Night next Sunday, 10 p.m. to midnight. Not sure we're going to have a guest or we're just going to do open lines. It's going to be weird. You know what it is. It's ITC Collective Night. Thanks, guys. See you next week, 10 p.m. to midnight. Same bat channel, same bat time. Have a great night. See you then. It was Boggy Creek. Totally butchered that, Bill. Legend of Boggy Creek.